All right, so this video is all about where to live here in the city of Murrieta, California. We're gonna go over the best areas and what areas you really wanna focus on so you can find the right fit for you and your family. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hey guys, hey again, my name is Justin Short. I'm a realtor and team leader with the Short Real Estate team here at Keller Williams in Temecula, and this video is all about where to live here in the city of Murrieta. So we're gonna go over the best neighborhoods and what areas you and your family really wanna focus on depending on what you're looking for. And I think I can give you a really good perspective on what it's like to actually live here for someone that's lived here for a long time. So I've lived here in the Valley for over 25 years. I do now live in the city of Temecula, but for about 10 or 11 years, maybe closer to 12, I lived in Murrieta. So I've lived all around the Valley here in Winchester, in Murrieta, in Temecula, and I think I can give you a really good perspective on what it's like to actually live here and let you know kind of what my experiences were and hopefully help make the right recommendation for you and your family. So, but before I get into all the information, if you are liking real estate videos like this, please do me a favor, please hit like, please hit subscribe to the channel. Obviously it helps me, it helps my channel as we try to continue to grow it. And then we have new videos that we put out each and every week, and everything is just here, real estate local. So it's about the city of Temecula, Murrieta, and Menifee. We're going to have, from different neighborhood tours or recommendations or best school districts or worst school districts, or, what neighborhoods we would recommend in each city. So I hopefully it'll be good information for you guys if you do want to stay on top of, the real estate info just for the here in the local market. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip around the camera. I'm going to pull up a map of the city so I can better explain kind of the different areas that I'm talking about. We'll kind of highlight it as we go through it. And so let's go ahead and pull that up. Okay, cool. All right, so I have a map of the city of Murrieta pulled up here, and I think this will help me just kind of highlight the different areas that I'm talking about and kind of discuss them and go over with you guys. I think it'll just let me demonstrate a little bit better, right? So hopefully it's helpful for you guys. But I guess kind of where I will start first is, I mentioned before, I've lived here in Murrieta in the Temecula area for a really long time. I lived in Murrieta, I added it up, it's about 12 years or so that I lived in the city of Murrieta, lived in Winchester, lived in Temecula, and then not only, myself living here, but I've helped hundreds of clients relocate here to the area or buy and sell homes here in the area. So I think I can give you some really good perspective on, the questions I get all the time or the things I go over with my clients all the time. And really the main question that I get, and the first one is, hey Justin, we don't know the area super well. We just want to make sure, we don't buy a home in a bad area, right? We want to get into a safe area. We don't want to buy in a bad neighborhood, right? And so really my response to that is, the truth is in the city of Murrieta, probably 99% of the city is going to be a really, really nice place to live. So there's really not necessarily a bad place. There's just what would be the right area for you and your family depending on what you're looking for. So what I'm doing, I kind of brought up some examples of different clients that I see, kind of typical scenarios, what they're looking for, what their priorities are, where they're going to be working, and I really make recommendations off of that. But the truth is, the city of Murrieta, we started seeing the first tract homes built probably in the late 80s, 88, 89, somewhere right in there. And then most of the homes were built in the mid 90s. So from like 95 to like the early 2000s, so say 2003, 2004, right around there. And that's when the majority of the city was built, right? From there has been new construction going on ever since then. There's still new homes that are currently being built and being constructed. So the city is still growing. But just because it is such a new area, it's not like let's say LA, right, where a lot of these homes were built back in the 50s and 60s. And because of that, I think you have some real diversity, right? You have some real crummy areas and some real nice areas, right? But just because these homes are so new, the area has grown, so much, and it's grown because it is such a quiet suburb. Murrieta is constantly one of the safest cities in the nation. Is ranked anywhere from the top 10 to top 100 safest cities across the U.S. So obviously that's a huge plus. But just driving through, when you're here, you can see it's just such a squeaky clean suburb. It's really well taken care of. There's a lot of pride of ownership. And there's a great school district. So the Murrieta Valley School District is super, super highly rated. And because of all those reasons, those are the reasons that people decide to move here. And between that and what a heavy police presence that is here that to help keep the area safe and clean and all those different types of things, that's really why I say 99% of the area is going to be a really great place to live. There's really not a bad area or a bad side of town or like a crummy rundown area just because it's newer and it's so well taken care of. That's really just not the case. The one area that I will say that I do typically tell clients to stay away from, there is a part of town that's over, and I'll highlight it here on the map, that's over more on the east side of the city, where there's a lot of triplexes and quadplexes and duplexes. So there's just a lot of rentals. They tend to be less, I guess, lower income or less expensive rentals, right? Just not as well taken care of. And so because of that, I would say, for most people, I would probably kind of stay away from that area. And that's a very small neighborhood. I mean, there's maybe, it's kind of right over here, right off of Murrieta Hot Springs. There's probably, I don't know, maybe 100 units that are in there. So it's a pretty small area. It's like half a street, but there is a bunch of quadplexes and triplexes in this area, and that's probably something I would avoid. But other than that, 99% of the city is gonna be a great place to live. I've lived in several different places in Murrieta. I have friends and clients all over the city, and it really, I drive through all the time, for work, and it really is a great place. So my recommendations is more kind of what you were looking for. So I have a lot of clients that move to Murrieta, and if you don't know, most people do not live here locally. Most people move here to the city and then commute out for work. So you live in Murrieta, you drive to San Diego, you drive to LA, you drive to Orange County, because the cost of living is so much less expensive here, but you have the high paying income job that's out there, right? There's not a ton of big employers out here in Murrieta. So the most common thing with people that live in Murrieta is they will make a drive and a commute to Orange County in LA. And so if that's the case, if you're looking for a home where you can have the shortest commute possible and still be in a great area, what I recommend for those people is going to be the area of West Murrieta. So I'll kind of highlight that here. You're looking at a map of the city, kind of general lay of the land. You have this 15 freeway. Not a great circle. You have the 15 freeway. So if you don't know, the 15 freeway is the main freeway that runs north and south through the city. So if you take it south, that'll take you down to San Diego, and if you take it north, that'll take you towards LA, towards Corona, and eventually towards LA out that way. Okay. Then you also have this off the 15 freeway. You also have this 215 freeway, and the 215 freeway runs more northeast, kind of runs out this way, and that'll take you towards the city of Riverside. Okay, so some people do commute out that way. Also, the next city north is going to be Menifee, but eventually out there you will hit towards the city of Riverside, which is a big city. So those are the main freeways, right? And the reason I point those out is because if you could see, these freeways create a V, right? So you have 15 freeway. You have the 215 freeway, and then you have this place in the middle. So the way that people classify it is in 3 different sections for the city of Murrieta. So you have where this 15 freeway is, everything on the west side or the left side of the freeway would be considered West Murrieta. Okay, West Murrieta for a lot of people tends to be the most desirable part of the city for people, because there's a lot of reasons. We'll go over that here a little bit, but the middle portion of the city, people actually refer to that as Central Murrieta. So between the 2 freeways, I'll kind of get some of this ugliness out of here, but between the 2 freeways, they call this Central Murrieta. So this area in the middle between the 2 freeways, so in the center of, and then on the right side of the freeway, the east side of the 215 freeway, they would consider this to be East Murrieta. Okay, so that's kind of your general lay of the land. So you have the West Murrieta, Central Murrieta, and East Murrieta. Cool. All right. So if you are commuting to LA or Orange County, most people would highly, highly prefer to live here in the area of West Murrieta. The reason for that is a few things. So one, it's the most expensive part of the city, right? And so usually things that are most expensive are going to be more desirable for a lot of different reasons. But especially if you're making a commute north, you're trying to get to Orange County, trying to get to LA, there are 3 off-ramps, so 3 freeway off-ramps here in the city of Murrieta off the 15 freeway. So this 15 freeway is here. Let me clear all this out for you. So you have the 15 freeway. You have the most southern off-ramp is Murrieta Hot Springs. So that runs pretty, east and west. So that's this freeway off-ramp number 1. Your next off-ramp is California Oaks, which is there. I'm trying to make sure I'm looking at the right thing on that. Yep, that's the right area. And then your third off-ramp is Clinton Keith Road is your off-ramp up this way. So you can see there's 3 different freeway off-ramps. So if you live in West Murrieta, it is very easy to get on and access the freeway at these 3 different points, right? So as opposed to if you live like where I used to live, this is, you can see my house here, it's right, I don't live there anymore, it's where I used to live, but to get on the freeway, it would be quite a long drive for me to get over on this freeway. And in the morning at rush hour, my time from get to that house onto the 15 freeway to make a commute, that might take me 20 minutes just to get to the freeway, right? And so if you're already commuting or making a long, commute to Anaheim or something every day, to add another 20 minutes just to get from the freeway to your house, it's going to suck, right? It's not going to be worth it. So if you're going to make that commute, if you can live on the west side of the freeway, that's going to really shorten your commute and make your commute a lot shorter. Not only that, but the other thing that people like about living on the west side of Murrieta is there's really its own community within itself. So you can access the freeway easily. There's also a ton of grocery stores. There's post office. There's school, high school, all the schools are there. So high school, middle school, elementary school, all that different type of stuff. It's all there local. It's very easy to drive around. You don't have to cross the freeway very often. So anytime you get on the freeway or cross over it on the other side of the freeway, it's always a pain. It's going to be, there's going to be some congestion and things like that. So because of that, a lot of people like the idea of West Murrieta being its own town within a town, being able to get on the freeway real easily, and it has a lot of the top neighborhoods in the area. So if you are commuting to LA, Orange County, that would be the area most people are going to try and focus on. And then, so I guess scenario 2, and kind of another client that I deal with a lot, or people that I talk with a lot, is maybe you're someone that's looking for a large property, right? And so if you're not familiar, so Murrieta, I would say probably 85–90% of the city is going to be your typical suburban tract home. So a builder came in, they bought up a plot of land, they subdivided, built 2,000 houses, and boom, there's a community. And that's most of the city, right? That's where your typical suburb. So that's going to be most of the area. But if you are, if you have other wants or other needs, and you're actually looking for some space, then there's really only going to be a few areas in town where you can get that. So let's say if you want a ½ acre, an acre, or even up to 2 acres, right? Maybe you want something for a horse property, or maybe you just want to have a guest house on the property for like a family compound, or maybe just you want to have a dirt bike track out there, or whatever it is. You just want some space. The area that I recommend for most people with that in Murrieta is going to be more in the Old Town area here in West Murrieta. So still part of West Murrieta over on the side, but kind of down here you also will see Old Town Murrieta pop up on a map, but you can see there's less streets, there's less congestion right here. There's just less, as opposed to like this area, right, where there's a bunch of streets and roads and things, right? But just on a map, that's because it's more spaced out. So it's larger lots. They're flat lots for the most part. There's a lot of horse property there. People have different types of businesses that they run on their properties, things like that. So if you are looking for space and you want to live in Murrieta, that is the area that I recommend to most people to look into, and to see if you find some decent options there. That's usually going to be the best fit. Or scenario number 3, let's say you want some space, but let's say 1 to 2 acres just isn't enough, right? You want more space, you want 4 acres, 5 acres, up to 10 acres even. What do you do in that case? Does that exist here? Yes, it does exist. That's going to be more up in the La Cresta area. So again, we have this 15 freeway. So you have one of those off-ramps that we spoke about was Clinton Keith Road. So you'll see that main road there. Clinton Keith Road is a huge main road. It runs all the way over to that part of Murrieta and all the way out this way. So I'll clear that out. But let's say if you get off the freeway, off Clinton Keith Road, and you come up, you go west, you start going up, starts winding up here, it starts winding. As you get up here, you enter a different area, and this is the area of, it's kind of cut off here, but it's the area of La Cresta and Tanaja. So those are the areas where you'll see those big properties, 4 acres, 5 acres, 6 acres, up to 10. There's a couple that are even closer to 20 as well. So if you want some space, that's going to be where it's at. You know, you are a little bit, there's pros and cons to everything, I was going to say. So you are a little bit further away from town, you know, you're a few miles away from the freeway, etc. But if you want that space and that privacy, and you want that, that much land, you know, that's really going to be your best bet if you're looking in Murrieta. And then scenario number 4, or client number 4 that I deal with a lot is, hey, you know, I want to buy a home in Murrieta. I was actually looking in both the city of Temecula and the city of Murrieta, but you know, the truth is Murrieta is just less expensive. I can get more for my money, but I still want to live close to Temecula to take advantage of all the business and everything that's there. So if you don't know, Murrieta doesn't have as much shopping and restaurants and businesses, as many businesses as Temecula does. So like Temecula has the Promenade Mall, Temecula has the Temecula Wine Country, Temecula has, you know, the Pachanga Casino. None of those, and they have a pretty real vibrant, you know, Old Town area. None of those things does Murrieta have as much as Temecula does. So because of that, a lot of people want to be close to be able to drive and take advantage of those things. So if that's the case, then if you are looking for those items, then the best place for you to live would be that area of East Murrieta. So you have that 215 freeway, and so over on the east side out this way. So it's getting a little ugly there, isn't it? But so over on the freeway, over on the east side, so like this area here, up around over here. If you lived over on the east side of Murrieta, your distance to Temecula, like say here's the mall in Temecula, you know, this is all this area is actually considered Temecula as well. It's getting a little blurry where the lines are, but most of this area at least, you're only, I would say, you know, 4 to 7 minutes away from those things. So you're super close. You can easily, you know, take that trip to the mall for shopping. You can take the trip to the mall for, you know, going to restaurants. You can come down, cross over into the Old Town area. It's probably a little bit farther to that, maybe, you know, 10 minutes or so. Or even Wine Country is out this way. This is where all the wineries are, or a lot of the wineries are. And you're maybe, you know, 15 minutes or so from that. So, but if you want to live in Murrieta, and you want to be close to a lot of the amenities that Temecula offers, East Murrieta is really going to be your best bet for something like that. And then let's say scenario number 5 that I deal with a lot are, you know, say as a client that wants to buy a home in Murrieta, and they like the idea of a, you know, of a safe area and a well-kept suburb, but they are absolutely adamant that they do not want to live in an HOA. They will not live in an HOA. They don't want the rules. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want someone to have their thumb on top of them, which I can understand because I've lived in, you know, all types of different HOAs. And they also maybe want to buy a home that has a low tax rate, right? If you guys aren't familiar, in this area, different neighborhoods are going to have different taxes. So we all have the same base tax rate, but they have different special assessments, which basically means you can look at 2 homes. Let's say you're looking at a $700,000 home. You look at one with a low tax rate. You look at one with a high tax rate. That high tax rate home might cost you an extra $300 to $400 a month. So that's a big deal, right? I think everything is expensive nowadays, and if you can buy a home and have one cost less than the other, that's probably going to be a lot more desirable, right? So if you are looking for something with low taxes, that's super important to you, or if you are looking with something with no HOA, the best area to focus on for that search would be the area of Central Murrieta. So we talked about the 2 freeways, right? So you have the 15 freeway, we have the 215 freeway. So this area right here in the middle, this central Murrieta, is really going to be the best area for you to focus on. Because this area tends to be a little bit older, so you have some of those older tract homes that were built in the late 80s, early 90s, before HOAs were so popular. I guess that would be why, you know, before there was such a such a big priority for people. And you tend to have, because of the age, you have the lower taxes, and because of the age, you tend to not have a lot of those HOAs. So if you are looking for that, Central Murrieta is really going to be your best bet, and probably the area I would direct most people to really focus on. I think that would be something to really check out. And then I guess scenario number 6. So let's say you want to live in Murrieta, but you don't want to live in just like an average neighborhood, your average tract home. Let's say you just want to live, in the nicest neighborhood. You want to live in the nicest, nicest homes, or the nicest part of town. What areas would you really focus on? What are really the most prestigious neighborhoods in Murrieta? So there's really a handful that you're probably going to want to focus on. So area number 1 would be, again, you're right here off that Clinton Keith Road, and that is the community of Bear Creek. Bear Creek is a really high-end neighborhood. If you are not familiar with it, you can give it a quick Google search, but it's super, super pretty. It is built all around a Jack Nicklaus golf club. So it's a private golf club. It's super high-end. It has a lot of notoriety. It's not cheap to play. You have to be a member. It's quite the to-do, right? But the community itself has all types of different homes. So they have from attached condos to detached condos to small houses, all the way up to big, custom estates. So you're going to find something from probably 1,200 square feet up to 7,000 square feet. So it just depends what you're after. It's a big range in price ranges there. But if you want to live in the most prestigious area in Murrieta, I definitely would say it would be Bear Creek. It's in a guard-gated community, so it's difficult even just to drive in there. You have to be on the gate, and someone is going to have to check in, etc. So it's quite the to-do, but it's definitely the most prestigious neighborhood in Murrieta. The second neighborhood that I would recommend is the Murrieta Ranchos. So Murrieta Ranchos is also in that West Murrieta area, kind of area we've talked a lot about. And kind of what's unique about this, it's an area that has low taxes, it has no HOA, but what makes it special is they have really big lots, at least for Murrieta. So they're all from 1/3 of an acre to a half-acre lots. They are all single stories. I think they all have RV parking, if not like 90% of them have RV parking. And because it's all single story, everyone's lot's really private, and it tends to be, it is one of the most desirable neighborhoods in town, and maybe the most desirable tract home neighborhood in town. So Murrieta Ranchos, again, is in West Murrieta. It's kind of right here, a little bit north of Cal Oaks and a little bit south of Clinton Keith, kind of right there in the middle. There's not a ton of homes in there. The homes that pop up always sell quickly. They always sell for a lot of money. They often go over list price, and it's a really, really desirable area, and it's an area that most people want to live in. That's a neighborhood that I tried moving into, right? And when we were looking to move this last time, this is a neighborhood that was on my radar and something that was a want for myself. So that's a really good place to check out. Another neighborhood that's really prestigious and that I think most people would really like is this neighborhood up at the top. You see the name here, the Greer Ranch. So Greer Ranch is a really nice community. It's just north of Clinton Keith, so it's the most northern portion of the city. What makes it so desirable is it is also a guard-gated community, so very safe, very private. You can't just get in and just drive through. It is more of like kind of a typical tract home. So there are nice, I guess typical isn't the right word, but it is a tract home community. So you have some really nice houses. A lot of them have views because it's built over on a hillside. So you have that. Some have bigger lots than others, but it's definitely on the high end, definitely a prestigious neighborhood, and definitely an area I think most people would want to check out. And then the last place that I'll mention is the neighborhood of Copper Canyon. So Copper Canyon, again, is back over here in West Murrieta. It's kind of up this way. It's very close to a couple of the other neighborhoods we talked about. So Bear Creek is right here, and the Murrieta Ranches is like right there. So it's very, very close, but basically you can't see it from the map here, but this is all up on a hillside. And so because that, there's a lot of view lots, there's a lot of cool topography, there's a lot of cool privacy. And this area actually also has no HOA, which can be a big plus for people. And again, you're in West Murrieta. It's easy to jump on the freeway. You're right there close to shopping and schools and all that different type of stuff. It has the best elementary school in the area is in that part of town, and it's just a really desirable area. So that would be another prestigious area that I think most people would want to check out if they are looking at a home in Murrieta. And then the last, I guess, scenario that I'll go over with you guys is, if you are looking to move to Murrieta, and let's say you want to buy a home in a 55 plus community, what areas would you look in? And the advantage of 55 plus homes, if you don't know, is those communities tend to be less expensive. So let's say your average home in Murrieta right now is about $750,000 or so. The average home in a 55 plus community, that I'm going to talk about is probably right around that 600 to 620,000, right around there. So it's pretty good savings for sure. The number one, and I guess definitely the best, single family home 55 plus community in Murrieta is the community of the Colony. The location is great, so it's right here in central Murrieta. Right here, again, it's built around a golf course. It's a public course, so it's not quite the same as the other one, but it is also a guard-gated community. They definitely have a strict HOA, but they have a lot of amenities, community pool, spa, clubhouse, gym, all that type of stuff. They're always doing different types of activities. I've had a lot of clients living there over the years, and it's a really nice community. And again, because it is 55 plus, it's just a little bit less expensive. And those are, your typical stucco tract homes, so which are nice. And then the other area that I'd mentioned that's 55 plus that is actually even a little bit less expensive is the community of the Knolls. The reason it's less expensive is because they are manufactured homes, so they're not your traditional stick-built home. It's more of a manufactured home that is still in Murrieta, but you do still own the land, which is, if you're familiar, that's not always the case. So in this area, you might find your average home right around that 450 to 500,000. I would say between 400 and 500,000 right now. So, but they're manufactured homes as opposed to stick-built. But that's definitely your least expensive way to live in Murrieta, to buy a home and own the land, and it tends to be a good option for people just because it is affordable. So those are the areas that I would recommend if you are looking for a 55 plus community. So anyways, I hope that's good information for you guys. Try to highlight a few different neighborhoods, give you some examples on conversations I have with clients and that are looking for different things. Everyone's looking for the right fit for themselves and their family. So I hope that's good info. If you have questions or you want to reach out, feel free. You can call, you can text, you can email me, and hopefully talk to you soon. Thanks.